Shook is known as a premier trial firm serving health, science, and technology clients. You might be surprised to learn that Shook offers corporate services and has recently expanded those capabilities. Joining me now to discuss is Sandy Hawley, who leads the corporate services practice, and new Shook partner James Mayer, who joined Shook earlier this year. Welcome to you both.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Sandy, can you give us a quick overview of your practice? You've been with the firm a long time.
You bet. I joined the firm in 1986, fresh out of law school, and have been here for 37 years and counting. So I practice in three primary areas. The first area is real estate. I do sales and purchases of real property, leases, both on the landlord and tenant side. We do mortgages, deeds of trust, liens on real estate, easements, really sort of anything that has to do with brick and dirt and real property. The properties that we deal with are typically commercial rather than residential. They might be vacant or already have improved developments on them. We really work across multiple industries: retail, office, industrial, manufacturing, warehouse. I've recently been doing quite a few agricultural transactions in Missouri and Kansas, which involve farmland or ranches, working ranches. So that's kind of fun. The second area I practice in is commercial lending, and I document loans for both lenders and borrowers. Sometimes it's a single bank facility. Other times it might be a syndicated facility that has a primary lead bank who we're representing. And then there might be anywhere from 3 to 10 to 15 other banks that are involved in the transaction on the lender side. Some of the loans I document are secured with real property or assets as collateral. Other loans are unsecured. The third area I practice in is general corporate transactional. So I do merger and acquisition transactions, which would involve sales or purchases of companies or divisions of companies. I can do either asset or stock equity transactions, again, sales and purchases. Some of the corporate transactional work I do is general contract review, going through a contract and pointing out to the client, here are some of the things that jump out at me, and advising the client. Other times I actually get into the negotiations with the other side and come to the final document for the client. Similar to the real estate work, in the corporate transactional side, it's really across a lot of different industries that I practice: retail, industrial, hospitality. And in all my work, all the clients are quite varied. So I work for large publicly traded companies with a national footprint. And a lot of my clients are regional or local companies that are closely held by one or just a few equity holders, with maybe one location or just a few locations. My practice, as you can probably tell, is quite varied. And frankly, that's one thing I have always loved about it.
Interesting work. You're not alone. You have a team. James, you recently joined our Houston office. And can you talk for a minute and explain to the listeners the services you provide?
Sure. I have a very broad corporate practice that includes mergers and acquisitions, both asset and equity deals, joint ventures, capital markets transactions, SEC reporting, corporate governance, and other commercial matters. I have experience assisting clients in a variety of industries and on transactions of various sizes, from billion-dollar deals to mid-market deals. Some of my clients are public companies, while others are private, similar to Sandy's practice. And some of my transactional work has an international component to it.
That covers a lot of territory. Sandy, as I understand it, you've also now brought in a new tax lawyer to Shook.
Yes, we're very excited to have Andrew Doctor, who recently joined us here in our Kansas City office. Andrew got an LLM degree in taxation and his law degree from UMKC here in Kansas City in 2014. He joins us from another firm here in town. And he has a really nice broad transactional experience and expertise across a lot of different industries. He has a lot of experience with real estate joint ventures, which is something the current members of our group did not have much experience with. And then generally, he has a wonderful tax practice. So he focuses on tax law for individuals and for all stages and sizes of business entities, and represents clients in a wide variety of industries, including real estate, finance, technology, medical, manufacturing, service, and retail. So we're just thrilled to have Andrew on board with us.
Let's talk about some of the issues that you all are watching right now. Sandy, there's been a lot of talk about the Corporate Transparency Act. Can you give us a boiled down explanation of what it is and what it means for companies?
Yes, so the Corporate Transparency Act is a law that's been enacted and is designed to circumvent financial crimes. In 2024, and this is just a brief overview, but in 2024, legal entities that do not otherwise fall under an exemption will be required to start reporting certain ownership information to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. In addition to info about owners, information about persons who exercise substantial control over the company might also be required. So that might include officers, it might include directors or others who have control over the decision-making at the company. And then additionally, in some cases, information about the individuals who are responsible for actually filing the documents that create the organization or register the organization might need to be reported. So that, of course, could include lawyers and folks on legal staffs. There are 23 exemptions, including SEC reporting companies, insurance companies, and some other companies that already provide significant amounts of information to the government. But very generally speaking, this is going to impact smaller companies and private companies. And this obligation will be something very new to private companies that aren't used to having to make these kinds of public disclosures.
Interesting. Right out of the page of the business section for sure. James, what are you watching right now that could impact mergers and acquisitions?
Well, everyone's talking about interest rates, and higher interest rates and higher for longer rates seem to be having an impact on everything. So those interest rates will undoubtedly have an evolving impact on M&A deals, which we won't know the full extent of until over time we see how that goes. The AI revolution seems to be driving some M&A deal activity. Also, the renewable energy sector seems to be driving some M&A deal activity, particularly where I am in Houston. On the regulatory side of things, antitrust authorities in the U.S. and competition authorities in other jurisdictions have for a while been taking a stricter approach when looking at M&A deals than they did in the past. Look at the difficulty Microsoft had in connection with its proposed acquisition of Activision, for example, which is maybe closing soon, but they had a lot of difficulty with it. Of course, stricter antitrust enforcement is more of an issue for large transactions and for participants in market sectors where there's less competition to begin with. The current threshold for the requirement to make a Hart-Scott-Rodino Act filing is a deal value of approximately $114 million. So in the US, deals below that threshold are not even reported to the DOJ and the FTC. Also on the regulatory front, the SEC has recently adopted new disclosure rules in the share repurchase and cybersecurity areas that our public company clients are beginning to deal with.
Interesting stuff there. Sandy, as we wind down, is there anything else you want to say about Schick's Corporate Services?
Keep us in mind for corporate needs. We really have a wide variety of experience. In addition to the items and the subject areas that James and I have mentioned, we have Marita Smith in our group here in Kansas City. Marita does estate planning and probate work for a variety of clients. We also do a lot of supply chain advice and counsel with folks, and others in the firm also do that as well. I think really broadly stated, the best way to describe our corporate practice is to say we can help a company throughout its lifespan. we can help the company at the beginning of its life get formed, get set up, walk it through its early stages, help it through its growing pains as it's growing and developing. And then during its lifespan, just the ongoing operations and business continuity as a company operates its business, whether that's day-to-day contract advice or major events such as buying, selling a division, buying property, getting financing, sort of all of those things that happen as the company is living its life. And then at the end of its lifespan, helping the company dissolve and wind down and distribute its assets. So just a real general way to say it is we can help you through your company's lifespan.
And James, did you want to mention some of our partners out west?
Yes. While not in our corporate services group, Shook has other transactional focused attorneys, including Amy Reagan and Kevin Swan in our Seattle office, and they assist clients with a wide variety of IP and technology related transactions.
All right, so we've talked about some pretty serious, heavy stuff. Let's close it out by asking each of you, what do you like to do for fun? Sandy, when you're not serving clients, how do you spend your time?
Well, I love to travel. I particularly love the Caribbean and I love Italy, and I'm always adding countries to my bucket list, the most recent of which is I think I want to go to Portugal and experience Portugal. I read, I play the piano, I love to work in the yard, and I try to keep up with my grandchildren and all of their sports events, and that can be all consuming on weekends. So lots to do.
No doubt. And James, what about you?
I love travel too, including all of those places, and traveling with my family and spending time with the kids. And I'm a big Houston sports fan, so go Astros.
All righty. Well, Sandy and James, thank you both so much. And for our listeners, if you'd like more information on our Shook corporate services or our firm, go to shb.com. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And a reminder that the choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based on advertising. The information in this podcast is for informational purposes only, and it's not intended to be any kind of legal advice. Thank you.